Okay, the pyramid scheme that led to the Great Wall of China. I ascended the steps of Machu Picchu. I stood in the shadow of the sun god. And absorbed all he had to offer into my being. I walked back down to earth and found myself ankle deep in Egyptian sand. During my stay in Giza, I entered a staring contest test with a sphinx. He blinked first. He riddled me with riddles. I knew all the answers. The final answer was to get to the other side. The sky darkened. The stone-faced lion lit a fire. We made s'mores. He noted that I didn't char my marshmallows dark enough for his taste. Evening desert chill set in. To keep me warm, the sphinx blanketed me from the neck down with his soft tail. I fell into a deep slumber. I awoke just south of Masada. The Judean desert sun served as a beacon pointing to the 2-mile snake path. I traversed the narrow trail and noticed droplets of wax left by Israeli soldiers. I reached the top where the zealots resided, ruined, surrounded by a crumbling wall. I climbed a stairway to a watchtower and passed out from the immense Israeli heat. I came to feeling dizzy and misplaced. A Chinese woman held a cold compress to my forehead. She helped me to my feet, led me out of the turret. I stood atop the Great Wall of China. The problem with such walls is the mere existence of their existence invites previously non-existent enemies whose sole purpose is invasion and destruction. People build walls inside their souls every day, sometimes to prevent eventual broken hearts, the same hearts they inadvertently pierce with sharp-edged trowels used to smooth mortar. These walls can be broken down not by enemies, but by lovers and friends who tutor trust and possess a special epoxy for broken hearts. These walls cease being walls and are reborn as complete souls their master masons had denied themselves. I stood atop the Great Wall of China. I wondered how long it would take to hike its distance. The answer does not matter, but the question tells the unintentional story of all such walls. In the end, the only worthwhile purpose of the Great Wall of China is as a tourist attraction its architects never imagined. Ribbons in the quicksand. There once was a poet who was separated from a jungle tour group. He wandered through the canopy underbrush for hours. He stopped to sit atop a felled tree the length of a bus. He thought this image would be a memorable line in a poem. He rose from his stoop, lifted his right leg to step on solid ground, and found his feet in quicksand. As a poet, he knew the true meaning of the word futility. He understood if he flailed his arms or tried to wriggle his legs free, he would sink quicker. His still body slowly sunk. When he was completely submerged, he opened his eyes to discover that he had sunk into a legendary mythological pool of words. He could breathe underwater and move freely in this verbal Atlantis. He started swimming a simple breaststroke. He noticed words forming phrases as he pushed them out of the way and pulled them back in. He saw the words no limitation float before his eyes and started swimming the butterfly while completely underwater. At that moment, he was joined on his quest by a kaleidoscope of orange and black monarch butterflies, singing Ribbons in the Sky by Stevie Wonder. The song he always secretly hoped would be his first dance song at a wedding he had accepted might never happen. At the end of the song, the monarch swirled around and around and shrank into a tube that fell onto the ocean floor. It was retrieved by a shiny silver octopus who handed the poet an antique kaleidoscope and said, "Take a quick look-see. This one is different from the free cardboard kaleidoscopes your dentist handed out when you was a kid." When the poet wrapped his hand around it, it felt as if it had been custom made for him. He raised it to his right eye and experienced a poetic synesthesia of words as colors, sounds, aromas, tastes, and textures. The kaleidoscope disintegrated, and words swimming around his being flowed and rhymed and made sense and made no sense at all. He began to scream and cry and laugh and feel every emotion possible in one single moment. The tour leader placed a bar of smelling salts under the passed out tourist's nose. It seemed the man got lost and hit his head on a felled tree the length of a bus. The tourist, who happened to be a poet, thought this image might make for a memorable line in a poem. And this is a brand new poem called If We Had Wings Like Birds. My first solo parachute jump. I wasn't nervous. I stepped from the plane into the wild blue yonder. When I pulled the cord, the parachute forgot to open. As I plummeted, I thought about Leslie from El Paso passionately playing Bach on her cello. I spanned my arms to form wings. My body suddenly shifted from vertical dive to horizontal swoop. I caught an updraft and soared through a cumulus formation, which felt more luxurious than the softest cashmere. I thought about performing a quick loop-de-loop and my body took instruction. I wondered if maybe I had landed back on land in not so good condition, but not so. As I soared back through the cloud and resided back in the atmosphere, a reserve chute popped open and I landed feet first in a meadow of daffodils laced with lascivious lavender. Thank you, everyone.